Next up is the Nature Trust Malta, a non-profit, non-governmental organization protecting Malta's natural environment. 2020 has been a very busy year, with a record number of turtle nestings, several injured turtles and other work. See what you can do to help improve the habitat and the environment for the turtles of the Mediterranean. Before Nature Trust joins us in the studio, however, we're going to stop for a quick break. See you in a bit. As I said before, we're now joined by three members from Nature Trust. These are Angelique Lofaro. Angelique Lofaro has been working with Nature Trust for 4 years, being involved in wildlife rescue and rehabilitation. She has also been turtle nest coordinator for 2 years, whilst also being the general secretary for the organization for 2 years. Martina Kutayar is a marine biologist with Nature Trust with a specialization in marine ecology. She has been with Nature Trust for just over a year, working on different marine issues, as well as coordinating the data collection of the turtle nests we had over the summer. And then Selina Ferlat, who has been with Nature Trust for over a year, coordinating the work and volunteers at the Turtle Rehab Center, but has been working in the turtle conservation for the past 3 years. Celine also helps with the coordination of turtle and wildlife adoptions. Welcome.
Hi.
We see that you have a little friend with you.
Yes.
Who's this little friend?
This is Kim. She represents one of the turtles that we have at the moment at the rehab center. But our mascot is Maggie. She's a turtle at the rehab center who's going to be with us for life because she only has one flipper.
Oh.
So, but yes, our turtles represent us wherever we go.
So I'll give this over to you, and you can let us know a little bit more about these friends of ours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. So basically, just as a basic introduction to Nature Trust, Nature Trust has been formed since 1962, and it was formed as the National History Society of Malta. It underwent some name changes and mergers until in 1999 it became Nature Trust Malta as it is known at the moment. 3 years ago, we had a very, very big milestone where we became the local representatives for the foundation of environmental education. Nature Trust's work is quite diverse. Our mission is basically to safeguard plants and animals and protect them from extinction, either through environmental projects and through education. Basically, our aim is to increase awareness about our natural environment that surrounds us. Nature Trust is also able to do this by being the local collaborators for Ecoscola, Young Reporters for the Environment, LEAF, Blue Flag, and Green Key. The following video will give you a very, very brief overview of all the different areas where Nature Trust works, and hopefully it works. So let's see if the video goes on.
No.
So the wildlife rescue team provides services for both marine and terrestrial fauna. The team is composed by biologists with sorry.
Well, mostly the wildlife rescue team is made up mostly by volunteers.
Yeah.
Out of the volunteers, we do have some people who are qualified in veterinary practice and mammal health, but the vast majority of us are just volunteers that are there dedicating our time to help the animals.
Yes, and they all have permits to...
Exactly. Since we are dealing with protected wildlife, we cannot just, enroll anyone. Every single person who does the rescues and the rehabilitation is covered by a permit which is issued by the Environment and Resource Authority.
Yes, and the terrestrial wildlife will be rehab at the volunteers' home, and the turtles will be rehab at the rescue center at San Lucian. So in 2019, we have 369 calls. Most of them are for hedgehogs and wildlife. Wildlife as chameleon, hedgehog, snakes, white rabbits.
Yes.
And frogs too, yes.
We had one rescue which was quite interesting, where one call was for over 1,000 frogs, and that was quite a difficult rescue to actually do.
Yes, it's incredible. And we had 30 calls for sea turtle, which is a lot for the Maltese Islands.
Yeah. So, as regards turtle species, the turtle species that frequent the Mediterranean Sea are 4 different ones. The green turtle and the hawksbill turtle are turtles that do not frequent Maltese waters that often. However, the loggerhead turtle and the leatherback turtle are the 2 most common turtles that frequent Maltese waters. We, as Nature Trust, mainly deal with the loggerhead turtle, which has a declining population trend and is vulnerable and is at the risk of extinction, in fact. It breeds in the Mediterranean, and it is the turtle that nests on Maltese beaches. We will be looking at the nests that we had in the Mediterranean over the summer, Maltese Islands this year as well. So if this video works, I will check. Okay, thank you very much. So this is a release of one of our turtles. In fact, this turtle is named after our very own Angelique, and was rescued from St. Julian's in 2019, in September 2019. Unfortunately, this turtle, as we can see from the video, is missing parts of one of its back flippers. And the reason for that is that it was highly entangled in nets such as these ones here, and fishing nets and lines that we can find discarded, unfortunately, or lost in Maltese waters.
So, the nesting season in Malta. So basically, I'm not looking
Yes.
handy. So, the nesting season with sea turtles coincides with the rise in temperature that we experience in late spring and in summer. Sea turtles, being reptiles, depend a lot on their natural environmental temperature for their function. Obviously, with a higher natural environmental temperature, they are a bit more active. So the nesting season usually coincides between mid-May and mid-August and August. After that, we will still have nests that are incubating, but new nestings per se will not happen after mid and August. In Malta, we've had years where we had no nests, we've had years where we had one nest, and we've had years like this year where we had multiple nests. It also depends on the females that are swimming around the Maltese waters. Female turtles will go to nest on the beach they were born. So it depends on whether those females are still alive and are adults enough to be reproducing, and whether the conditions at that time of the year are right for them to reproduce. Food, lack of noise, lack of activity, etc. The temperature, apart from affecting when the turtle nests, will also affect the incubation period of a nest, and it will also affect, very surprisingly, whether the babies are boys or girls. So if during the incubation period the temperature of the nest is less than 29 degrees, they will be mostly boys. If during the incubation it's more than 29 degrees, they will be mostly females. And if it's around 29 degrees, we'll have a mix. Why is this important? With global warming, we are having always increasing temperatures. This is leading to nests having mostly girls. Whilst we want girls because they are the ones that will come back and lay more eggs, the girls, when they grow up, need to find the boys. Without the boys, the girls will not be babies on their own. And therefore, it is very important that we try and see how to reverse the trend of global warming, because otherwise we're going to end up with mostly girls and no boys. And that will basically mean the extinction of the species. Turtles are part of a food chain. If they become extinct, all the food chain will be affected, including us human beings. This video that we're going to show you is about the last nest, the hatching of the last nest that we had in Adira on 7th October. I hope it evokes in you some of the emotions that we witnessed whilst actually watching the nest being hatched.
So in this case, this baby turtle, this baby hatchling was dehydrated. So what we're doing here is the water treatment. Of course, in that bottle, we have seawater, not fresh water that we drink. And that same turtle was released immediately soon after with its brothers and sisters. They all came out very unexpectedly and surprised us by the number of hatchlings that actually came out from that nest.
And the time.
And the time. It was one of the earliest nests, I think, in the history of nature trust. They hatched at about 5 in the afternoon. So it's very early for these hatchlings to come out. It was, however, a very dull and gloomy day. The red light that you can see in different parts of the video is used to guide these hatchlings to the water. And we use red light because it's gentler on the eyes of the baby turtles. Even on adult turtles as well, we do not shine white light, we use red light in this case as well.
And there it goes. So, yes, this year it's been a record year for the number of nests that we've had. We started off from the 29th of May in Ramla, and then the last one was laid on the 10th of August in Adira. We had 4 which were known from the day and protected from the day. We had one in Ramla, which we saw the turtle, but we couldn't find the nest. We protected that area until we were there still with the first nest, but then the second month it wasn't protected. And we had one in Marsa Scala, which unfortunately went completely unreported, and it showed exactly why we need to protect every nest that we know about. Basically, the one in Marsa Scala, the eggs incubated, they hatched, but the sand, because no one knew that there was a nest there, the sand was so trampled upon during those 2 months that when the turtles hatched, it was so compact they couldn't get out from underneath the sand. And unfortunately, there were no survivors from that nest. Even when we protect them, we can't protect them against everything. We protect against what we can, but then nature is nature. And in fact, the first nest of Adira, the one that hatched on the 22nd of September, only 17 hatchlings came out. Basically, in the beginning and mid of September, there were massive storms. There was a congregation of water just behind the nest. We tried to drain that water as fast as we could, but from underneath the sand, it still seeped into the nest and caused damage. So yes, that is why we protect them as much as we can, because the nest is so delicate that it is affected by a lot of other factors. No. This. No. And this.
So the loggerhead turtle life journey. So this video will show a bit the life cycle of the turtles, what they go through. The first thing that happens is that the...
Well, we'll start from an adult.
Exactly.
So the adult female is the only time the adult female comes out of the water is to lay a nest. She crawls up the sand to a good distance up the beach. She digs a hole herself, lays the eggs, covers the eggs, and crawls back to the sea. Usually, when she lays a nest, the clutch contains between 80 and 120 eggs. The eggs are not eggs like we know them, like the chicken eggs. Turtle eggs are the shape of table tennis balls, and they are quite soft and leathery. Usually, the incubation period is about 50 to 60 days. So we monitor and we protect for those 2 months. And then obviously, depending on temperature, it can have a low or a high or a long sort of incubation period, because temperature affects reptiles a lot. Then once they hatch, they make it to the sea. We try and protect them as much as we can from predators. In Malta, I think the most common predator is the ghost crab, so we make sure that in the runway leading to the sea, there are no ghost crabs. Seagulls and other birds are not so much of a problem in Malta, because although we have some, their population is not very large, and it isn't found that much on nesting beaches. Then they go and they start their life journey. In the first few days, they find patches of alga where they can feed. And basically, they go on their own business. But for the first roughly 3 years of their life, we call them the missing years, because it is a very, very, very rare thing for someone to see a hatchling or a turtle which is between 1 and 3 years. If conditions are right, they continue growing and growing and growing until they reach 20 years of age and over, and they can start reproducing and having babies themselves. Obviously, the smaller they are, the higher the risk of them being eaten by other bigger fish. And the more they grow, that risk lessens. However, when they grow, there are other risk factors for their life, basically, and it all involves mostly human activity. So it's boats, it's fishing lines, fishing nests, well, mostly those.
Exactly.
Plastic bags and other trash that ends up in the sea. So basically, what we can do is try and protect the turtles as much as we can until they grow up and they can start having their own families as well. And obviously, even once they're grown up, we still need to protect them so that they can live out their life expectancy.
So let's have a look of the most common of the most common injury we can find with turtles. Before we delve into the traits of sea turtle, let's have a look of the story of Maggie. Maggie has been at the rescue center for over a year and has been designed the mascot of the rescue center. So plastic waste is one of the most common treats followed by fish in line. Beach development is also a major concern because turtle will have less place to lay their eggs. And sometimes turtles will have to lay their eggs close to the sea. And it will be a problem for the nest because it will be affected maybe by the waves. Climate change is also a major issue for sea turtles, as well as marine traffic. And flooding, beach flooding can hinder the hatchling developments in the eggs. The most common injury of sea turtles, so at the rescue center, we have some turtles with a lot of injuries, and most of them are because of the ingestion of hooks, for example, but also entanglement.
Yes.
And sometimes turtles have ingested some plastics. When a turtle is entangled with the nets, for example, the nets can cut the blood circulation of the turtle, and so at the moment the turtle can lose its flipper or a part of its flipper. Hook congestion can cause some infection, some inflammation. And the injection of plastic can block the intestine. It's a bowel obstruction, in fact, and it's a major problem. So we must have to do our best to try to reduce our waste in in the nature and to protect our sea turtles.
Okay.
So in doing our part, these are some of the things that we can do. Instead of taking our personal car, opt for cycling or taking public transport. Instead of using single-use bottles, we need to replace these with reusable bottles as well. Balloons are a major problem. We need to stop releasing balloons entirely and opt for paper confetti instead. We need to make sure that we do not dispose of litter even on land, not just on beaches, because all of this ends up back into the water and on our beaches. And 100%, we definitely need to dispose of cigarette butts the right way. Portable ashtrays are now available for purchase, or alternatively, keep an empty pack with you and just chuck your cigarette butts into these empty packs.
Or quit smoking.
Or quit smoking.
Which is even healthier.
Exactly. So that is it for our presentation.
Very good, but that has created a lot of interest with our young viewers, and we have some questions for you. Do you know whether the two turtles which laid eggs in Adira were from the same mom?
So we have gotten permits to do DNA testing from the remaining eggshells, and once those results come in, we'll know if it's the same mother or
You'll be able
not.
to tell,
Yes,
like that.
But for now, we don't know.
We don't know at the moment.
And how long do these tests take?
At the moment, they are in protocol development. So we are in the early stages. We have 7 nests that we need to run. So a few more months, probably.
Okay, so keep tuned, because next edition of Science in the City, we might be telling you whether they're from the same mom or not. Which of the turtles shown are most endangered?
So the hawksbill turtle and the green turtle are at a higher risk of extinction. However, the leatherback turtle and the loggerhead turtle are showing significant and very rapid declines in their population. So they are very badly at risk of extinction as well.
Okay, so question number 3, have you noticed any changing on nesting habits and seasons due to climate change?
Okay, so, well, the nesting season before used to start a little bit later. But yes, with global warming and the temperatures becoming more warmer earlier, we've seen nests now coming in May. And it's not just in Malta, it's across the Mediterranean. It's still a new phenomenon as well, so we're trying to see exactly if that trend keeps on or not.
Whether it becomes a habit. Sort of. Might the situation become so bad that turtles have no babies?
If climate change and global warming keep on giving nests which are predominantly girls, I'm not saying next year or in 10 years, but in 50 years, yes, there could be a situation where there are so many girls, but no or very few boys, that yes, they are ready to make babies, but they can't because they can't
find a partner.
Exactly, they can't find a partner.
Okay, this is a question that I wanted to ask as well. How do turtles navigate? How do they find their way home? You've said in your presentation that
yes,
the turtles go back to nest where they were born themselves.
Yes.
How do they do that?
So they have an organ in their brain. We still don't know if it's during the incubation period or when they are crawling from the nest to the sea as hatchlings that they imprint the GPS coordinates of the beach. Oh. It's like when you have a drone and you press go home.
Okay.
With the turtle, go home goes where they were born. It's those coordinates. We still don't understand it completely, but it's the same concept that migratory birds use for their journey as well. It has to do with the magnetic coordinates of the Earth as well.
That is amazing. How, where are we? So how many turtles average are found per year in Malta?
Usually rescues we have between 30 and 40 a year.
Yes, near 40, it depends on the year. This year we have a bit less call for the turtles.
Which is the most common turtle species around the world?
The loggerhead.
The loggerhead.
Definitely the loggerhead.
So it's not
yes.
just the Malta?
No.
In fact, the Maltese is called il facruna al comuni,
Okay. The
So,
common
the
turtle.
common
the common turtle.
How do the eggs hatch at the same time?
So, there's a very complicated process that goes on. There will be one which is called the leader that will send signals to the others.
Okay. So
And
they sort of communicate
They
between the eggs?
communicate and they start vibrating together. Once they start vibrating together, then they hatch, and it helps them to hatch all at the same time. Because if it's just one, it's very difficult for one to
survive.
make its way up from underneath the sand. But when it's a group, they sort of like piggyback on each other and they help each other come out from the sand all together. But yes, it's a vibration. One starts and then the others follow.
So it's a teamwork.
Definitely.
Very good. That was very, very interesting. Thank you so much for being here and for
Thank you
being
very
with us and for
much.
Thank you.
explaining.
If anyone wants to help Nature Trust, please go on our Facebook page, because there are so many options. There's Adopt a Turtle. We have Christmas packs as gifts.
And
You
what
can
do
be-
they need to do if someone wants to become a marine biologist? Because this is the
That's
last question they've asked.
Definitely take on biology as a subject from the earlier, so from year 9, and then take it on as an A-level and go into university to study a BSc biology or BSc biology course. The next thing to do is, when you come to do your dissertation, is focus on marine biology as a subject, and then keep progressing with specialization from there.